The June 8th meeting of the Village Board of Trustees to order. May I have a roll call, please, Clerk?
Yes. Trustee Donnersberger. Here. Trustee Eck.
Here.
Trustee Gazis.
Here.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Here.
Trustee Saldana.
Here.
Trustee Speska is absent. And President Wittenberg.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that you can view the meeting on Comcast Channel 6, Facebook Live, and YouTube IHP TV. Welcome, everybody. We've had a busy month, and I wanted to provide a brief overview. Personnel. We've held interviews for village administrator on 5/31 and 6/1 and had some very good candidates for the position. We are in the midst of negotiating an employment agreement with a candidate and hope to have our new village administrator brought for board approval at the July meeting and start officially, tentatively, on July 23rd. In the interim, Andy Farini will be filling in as interim village administrator. Don Lorenzen in Public Works has announced his retirement. He will be leaving us on 6/23, and we appreciate his dedication and service to our village over the past 4 years. We have a new hire that's with us tonight, Sarah Sophie, who is a resident of IHP and has an experienced administrative background and is replacing Lisa Bujak, who left the village in May. We welcome Sarah to Indian Head Park's staff and also wish Lisa Bujak all the best as she moves on to other professional endeavors. As I previously stated, John DeRocher is retiring, and his last day is 6/23. This is his last board meeting. Not, I think, maybe forever as you're retiring, potentially.
That's my plan.
I want to thank him for his service and dedication to our village and wish him a restful and enjoyable retirement. And there will be more comments made and some parting gifts in the meeting. Let's talk a little bit about the meetings we've had this month. Here's a short summary of the meetings we have had based on feedback from our residents and board on a number of items. May 16th, we met with Wintrust, our primary banking partner, to optimize our allocation of village deposits in higher yielding alternatives. Trustee Eck will provide more details later in the meeting about the action items from that meeting. May 19th, we had a meeting with the Illinois Tollway regarding the embankment landscaping, drainage, the Flag Creek fence, and external drainage pipes. Our next meeting with the Tollway to discuss these concerns will occur over the next several weeks with the Tollway, the county, and Indian Head Park. Meetings coming up. We're scheduling a meeting with the Cook County Strand, and Indian Head Park regarding the Phase 1 Wolf Road construction plan. We'll be having that meeting to understand and discuss the formation of the PIP and the CAC. And we expect that to be in early July. We will keep you informed of the status of the formation of these committees. Our committees are starting up on a regular schedule, and we will be providing more information in the future on all of our village committees and their short and long-term goals and objectives as they meet and get organized. I would invite any questions from our residents, our staff, or trustees on any and all items I have mentioned that we have discussed tonight or anything in general. Feel free to email me, call me, and we can discuss anything additional that you want to hear on any topic. Thank you. We are now at the time in our meeting where we can have public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening? Please step to the podium.
You can come.
If you could come to the podium, please, and state your name and address, please.
My name is Thomas Slayton. I live in Indian Head Park at 6222 Edgebrook Drive West. The reason I'm here, I feel that the annual vehicle sticker fee charge should be eliminated. The primary reason is a lack of enforcement, or maybe very limited enforcement. I don't know if you want me to discuss it.
You have more time to discuss it. We give you several minutes if you'd like to go into more detail.
I have checked around, and I have observed numerous vehicles without any stickers. And I might be stepping on some toes of friends, neighbors, and others, but I'm not sure of the significance of this particular amount that really needs to be paid to the city or the village. I have talked to the people in the administrative office, and I've asked them, what are they doing, if you don't pay the fee? And I've received different type of replies, but essentially they're telling me, we're hoping the police would do it, or the police should be doing this. We've sent out something to collect this information. I'm not sure about that because there's too many vehicles out there without stickers. And I've talked to, today I was in the office and I talked to a girl and she said, well, there was a lady in there that was working, and she got a ticket in her driveway, which was, I thought, surprising to me, but this was 15 years ago. And as I say, I talked to the police department a couple of times. In fact, I talked today, and my earlier talks were, well, if the car is on the street, but we don't go on the driveways, what I got out of it, it's maybe, if somebody was pulled over for some reason, there would be a ticket for lack of stickers. But I'm not sure what extent that's really taking place. I did stop in and saw the chief of police today and talked to him, and I asked him, do you have anything about how many tickets were actually issued as far as stickers? And unfortunately, I do still have it's out in the car. I have the information he gave me, but I have failed to bring it in. But there was 4 tickets actually issued that were clearly marked as being issued. He also mentioned to me that perhaps some were given out where there was someone on a cell phone, seatbelt violations, maybe speeders. And I was thinking, and he told me, there's some speeders that come off 55 and still think it's 55 everywhere. But I'm not sure of how many, if you're not in this community, if you're going to issue a ticket to somebody that's out of state, and if they were ever to, I don't think that was done, and I'm not sure how many of the potential out of the speeders would be somebody living in Indian Head Park. But I think what the office could do, they could ask for a list of all the people that live in Indian Head Park and send out letters and saying, hey, your particular property does not have any identification as far as a sticker fee paid. And there's, I think, other ways that could be used to find out. I don't know if the state of Illinois would furnish anything as to how many people are here and who they are. But you could cross-check and see, hey, these people may be living here, and where's their sticker? Basically, I'm saying, if you're not doing anything, why have people who want to follow the rules pay the fee? They're kind of being ignorant, or I don't think they're getting their fair share because others aren't paying theirs. Hopefully you would consider, what's the value of this particular amount that you're taking in? I did talk to the former mayor, and what I got of that was, I don't know if it's really necessary. Maybe we could bring in extra money. But it didn't sound like there was any encouragement on his part to have the sticker fees enforced.
Well, thank you for your comments. It's something that we've discussed very recently, and there is a state of Illinois registration list that we can check against. We do that every 2 years or 3 years, and that will be done this year.
Okay, every 2 years?
Yeah.
Every year would be better.
Well, what we'll do is we'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at the entire program and see. We can give you the revenue statistics, and we can put that on the agenda at an upcoming meeting, because it is a significant amount of income for the village. And there's certainly other ways that we can collect income, but we have to really think about that and what we would replace it with. Some municipalities have gotten rid of their sticker programs. So it's a pretty big issue to discuss and to peel back the onion on, and we really appreciate you coming and having the dialogue with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Sandy?
Sandy Hayes, Cochise Drive, 6634. Thank you. I have noticed so many cars with old stickers that it does annoy me. Why am I paying religiously every year and other people are getting away without paying? So I appreciate his comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? If there are no other public comments, can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
Is there any discussion, questions about the consent agenda?
We've got a couple of appointments in the agenda. If you'd chat about those just a little bit.
Yes, we have a new appointment for the Finance Committee, Anthony Iannaco. I hope I didn't mispronounce his name. He lives in the Indian Woods subdivision. And Greg Skovich is being reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term ending June 8th, 2026. Any other comments, questions for the consent agenda? Helia, can you read the financial report, please?
The financial summary for the month ending May 2023. Cash on hand is $3,420,000. We had total warrants for the month of $459,000, which included a payment to the IEPA, a police vehicle, and we had 3 payrolls. Our total revenue collected was $367,000, and our ending bank balance was $3,329,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer. If I hear no more questions or comments, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
And Trustee Sveska is absent.
All righty, that motion has passed. We're now moving on to new business. Could I have a motion for item A, please?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-20, an ordinance allowing for the construction of a Dunkin' Donuts.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. All righty. Is this Andy? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so this is a ordinance amending the planned unit development, the triangle planned unit development. This is a development project that's been in the approval process a little under 6 months now. And this Dunkin' Donuts would be at 6921 Joliet Road. On the screens, you see the site map. So it's right at that intersection. And like I stated, it's been going through the process for a while. The developer has been very flexible and very creative with their proposed project in order to meet site restrictions. It's a fairly small parcel as is, and then they also took into account possible acquisition of land for the Wolf Road project in the future. But they were creative and they got it to work, and it's a drive-through only Dunkin' Donuts, although I believe it does have a walk-up window. Staff is recommending approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this ordinance as well. Staff predicts that the development would produce roughly $30,000 to $35,000 a year for the village, and that this would be a great first big project in the Triangle Planned Unit development and set a good precedent going forward. Some of the things that staff is recommending and that the developer has agreed to in its meetings with the Planning and Zoning Commission is that the petitioner must receive approval from IDOT for Joliet Road and Cook County for Wolf Road as for ingress-egress permits, as well as get permits from Indian Head Park and any other relevant government agencies such as MWRD. The developer should also, of course, will have to pay all the relevant fees, and the developer has agreed to a masonry building to go along with the original goals of the planned unit development, and to match that masonry to the look of the current proposed car wash, which the Planning and Zoning Commission has looked at, very much likes the masonry. The masonry really is similar to what was originally envisioned in the planned unit development. David, will you bring up the car wash just so we can show the color masonry that we're going for? So that's the car wash development. That's further behind in the process, but the color of that masonry is the color that Dunkin' Donuts developer has agreed to match. The intention being that even though we have separate developers, separately owned properties, it all looks uniform. And so with that, I can take any questions. Staff is recommending approval. And we have tonight here, we have Alex, as well as the engineering team for the project, if the Board of Trustees has any questions for them as well.
I'd just like to commend both Dunkin' Donuts and the Planning and Zoning Committee. I know it's been an involved process, but I appreciate how flexible Dunkin' Donuts has been, and we look forward to working with you.
Madam President, I have a question, and you might actually have it in the analysis, but even though we don't know yet how Wolf Road would be affecting the parcel, how much of the parcel, what is the percentage of the parcel that is at risk of being acquired by the Wolf Road project currently?
So I can't give you a percentage off the top of my head, but we asked them to plan for the worst case scenario, which would be 15 feet taken, 15 feet from the current right of way.
So what is right now planned for that area, considering that what if it doesn't get taken all 15? What is it that they're putting there? Is it just landscape, or are they planning on possible temporary use for parking? I know it's a drive-through, but you know.
I think that's something we'll discuss. What the developer has committed to is to do landscaping. Their original intention was to do more landscaping, but with the site restrictions, they had to cut that back. So right now it's landscaping, but perhaps we can work with them on increased parking spots if they think they need that. Right now they don't think they do, because they just have to have parking for the employees.
Yeah, for the employees.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, I think we would need a roll call vote.
Yes. All right. Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
And Trustee Sveska is absent. The motion passes.
Thank you. Now we'll be going on to item B in new business. Can I have a motion for item B? Brenda?
I make a motion to approve, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Where is it? Where? Oh, I make a motion to accept 2023-2021, an ordinance amending the village code pertaining to staffing levels in the police department.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brenda and Jim.
Okay, just to go over this a little bit, the reason why we're amending this motion, because currently our code of ordinance dictates and limits the number of police officers that we can have. By amending the ordinance, this language will be removed, and then this will give the village a far greater flexibility in staffing the police department by needs and based off the budget. So instead of limiting ourselves to 9 police officers, we can then, as long as we have the money and we do need additional police officers, we'll have that flexibility to hire them without having to come back to the board to have approval of another officer.
Any other questions on the police department staffing level ordinance? Hearing no other questions, can we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
And Trustee Sveska is absent. The motion carries.
Could I have a motion for item C?
I make a motion to approve President Wittenberg's recommendation for interim village administrator.
I'll second it.
Okay. Do you want me to do it? And may I please add to the motion to appoint Andy Farini as interim village administrator, effective 4:30 p.m., June 23rd, 2023, until such time the new village administrator starts, at which time he shall revert back to his previous position.
So moved. Need a second.
And no, I don't think I do. Do I need a second?
Oh,
Yeah, you
Jim.
need to.
Eileen was the second, right? Yeah. Thank you. Any discussion? Questions?
Andy, you ready for this?
Yes, sir.
And they were very grateful for your help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
And Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
And Trustee Sveska is absent. The motion carries.
Do we have the same thing? All righty, can I have a motion for item D?
I make a motion to approve President Wittenberg's recommendation for chief of police.
I would also like to add that Mike is reappointed for a temporary indefinite period of time not to exceed the date the new chief is sworn in and assumes that position is appointed by the president with consent of the board.
Does that need to be seconded?
Yes, please.
I second that.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, could we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
And Trustee Sveska is absent. The motion carries.
Great. Item D, discussion and establishment of a committee of the whole. I would like to take this one and explain some details regarding committee of the whole. We have had a variety of discussions with the trustees and myself about ways in which we can discuss matters of village business in a way that is legal. That means it's consistent with the Open Meetings Act, but yet we can engage in more detailed discussions of village issues. And the way to do that is to establish a committee of the whole, or a COW, as some people refer to it. We have not had a committee of the whole, I don't believe, in the history of Indian Head Park, so we have been discussing about establishing a committee of the whole, which is the committee of the trustees and the president, that we would meet at an additional time that would be a public meeting. So the recommendation that I was making to the trustees to try out this concept, since we haven't done it, and it is an additional meeting, and it is an additional responsibility of staff to prepare for the meeting and to do minutes and all of that, we would do it quarterly. We've talked to council about this, and he and his staff wrote a very nice information piece about the items that we should be considering regarding the committee of the whole. You were all given that in your board packet. We do not have to go through all of those points today, Pat, but I think they're all very good for us to consider. My opinion about the committee of the whole, and I would love feedback from the trustees, is that this would be a committee meeting where we would be bringing things to the agenda to talk in detail about, but we do not have to have these items go to the board necessarily, but they have to go to the board to be voted upon. So we're going to establish sort of some rules consistent with what we all envision the committee of the whole to be, and have council work with us then at the next meeting to have that figured out in draft form for us to be able to edit the ordinance, since we have to change our village ordinance to be able to establish a committee of the whole. So I know the memo was quite detailed, and we appreciate that, Pat. So I'd like you all to, take a look at it over the next, I know you've looked at it before this meeting, but take a look at it in detail so we can start the process at the next meeting to then get that approved, and then we'll have our first committee of the whole meeting after we have the new village administrator start and get more acclimated to being here. Does that make sense?
So let me ask you a question. So to be clear on this, is if the committee of whole discusses something and let's say there's 100% agreement on doing something, that particular item cannot be acted upon officially until the next official Board of Trustees meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So there is a recommendation that the committee will make. Basically, you vote to recommend.
Correct.
And then, so the report says we vote to recommend.
Right, or a consensus is reached at
Consensus
that,
has been
right,
reached, yeah.
yes.
So we'll create some verbiage around this. Pat will create some verbiage for the next meeting so we can get that done, and then we can start the process. If we don't feel this is going to meet our needs, we don't have to go. We do it for a while. We don't like it. We don't have to continue with it. And there are other ways to do a committee of the whole, and there are other nuances to this whole concept. So I know we're adding some committees, and we're creating committees, and we're getting more active committees, which is part of this whole process. So if we go forward with this, it's not something that we have to do if we really don't think it's worthwhile for our particular board.
Just to be clear, and what Christina just said, so if something is discussed at the committee of the whole, and it looks like something that, wait a minute, let me put it this way. So there's a topic. In order for that topic to go before the board meeting, the official board meeting, it needs to be voted on?
It's more of a recommendation.
Right, it's really what it is a more informal way to vet ideas.
Right.
It's not necessarily a gatekeeping meeting for agendas, but it's a way to have the goal of this meeting being more the business meeting,
Right.
to have that more open and informal discussion at the committee of the whole. So that's really the idea behind it. It's not necessarily if something doesn't get a consensus that it can't appear on an agenda, but it's a way to have that open dialogue about whether
Right,
it should.
okay.
And one thing we were trying to do, to be very direct, was to decrease the amount of time of this particular meeting. and to make it more of a business meeting. And if you look online at various villages that have a committee of the whole,
Yeah.
they have meetings that are a half hour. But they still have a lot of dialogue, but that dialogue is done at the committees like Public Works, there's lots of dialogue, and then the committee of the whole. So you're not eliminating dialogue of the legislative process, you're actually enhancing it by having committees. And then this meeting becomes more of a procedural meeting.
Well, I can see it'd be helpful just to hear in more detail and depth what's going on in the other committees, so we can share that.
Correct. And the public, of course, is always invited to these, so you would have the opportunity to participate and be there. Any questions before we move on? And there's no action being taken tonight, so we're... All righty, if there are no other questions, then we're going to go on to reports. Is that... Trustee Eck, would you like to do the financial report?
Yeah, did we put this in where we can put the screen in?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Oh, okay, very good. This report goes back several months. Jim Gazes, then on the Finance Committee, and I were discussing ways in which to take advantage of the increased interest rates that are being offered on various instruments, very few of which were actually, at the time, being taken advantage of by the village. We had about $3 million back then. We've got about $3 million now. And over the last several months, working with staff and also working with our banker, Wintrust, we were discussing options in which to maximize or at least increase the interest that we can earn, given that interest rates now are in the 5% range. Not that they're necessarily going to stay there, but that's about where they are right now. We initially talked about putting investments in treasury bills or treasury items with maturities less than a year. We started doing that, I think, in February or January, John. I'm not sure when you made the first move with that. Yeah. Yeah, and so our earning assets prior to that were about $250,000 when we were in Illinois funds. In March, our earning assets were about $1.5 million. I'm rounding here. In April, they went to $2.5 million, and now in May they're at $3.3 million. And so earning 5% on those, again, that's about where interest rates are. Some are a little less, some are a little higher. That would give us about $160,000 more in income than we had previously. We do have some major expenses coming up. Helia's pointed that out, and she's going to be working with us on revising cash needs over the next 12 months. But if these balances were to stay the same, then we would be earning substantially more now than what we were a year ago, and certainly more than 6 months ago. And we'll take into consideration expected reductions in use of cash as we have the various projects such as streets, the pump house, and other projects as they dip into our cash reserves. But at the present time, I think we've made a substantial change, and part of that is, as you can see, more investment in treasuries, but we also have money market account, which is currently over 5%, and money's been moved there. Helia did that very quickly. Thank you, Helia. And so we're increasing and focusing on that. There are other opportunities that Wintrust had mentioned to us in regards to other types of services that we can take advantage of. One of the things that we were looking at is that, and one of the things that we'll see is as we move funds away from non-earning funds, we'll be charged expenses for the various services that the bank is performing for us. However, those services were in the range of about $600 a month or $7,200 a year. And if you take $1 million at 5%, that's $50,000. that pays, certainly pays for all the expenses and leaves quite a bit left over. But this is something to watch. Interest rates go up and down, and balances go up and down, and this is a village asset that needs to be managed. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Eck and Helia and everybody that worked on that project to optimize our yield on our current cash assets. Village Clerk.
No report.
Village Attorney.
No report, and then go back to treasurer.
Oh, Treasurer. I'm sorry, Helia.
No report.
Village Administrator.
As you alluded to earlier, this is my last board meeting. I did a quick count today. Board meetings only, not committee meetings, not planning and zoning, not other meetings. This is meeting 540 for me.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for all of your service.
That's about what our village attorney does in a year.
And Andy, Assistant Village Administrator.
Yeah, so I have no report other than I want to, on behalf of staff, say thank you to John. I just have a few words, and we'll have some more when we have your retirement party on your last day. But just wanted to give some background. And so John has decades of experience in public service. He's committed his life to public service, both in local government and prior to that in the United States Navy. And John at Indian Head Park has been instrumental in improving the financial strength of the village, implementing a budget process and a budget document that is more than just a spreadsheet, but a document that provides a plan and explains the vision of the village. And under his leadership, the village, and the budget in particular, has won the Government Finance Officer Association Award 6 years straight, and I'm confident we'll get it again this year. And I'll also say John has recruited a great team. It's a team that's committed to public service and a team that's committed to customer service. And John has led the team by example, by being a kind and a fair manager. So on behalf of village staff, thank you, John. Thank you for your leadership and your companionship. And on a personal note, I thank you for all of the opportunities and mentorship that you've given me over these years. I will always appreciate and remember it. And so while you still have a few weeks left, the team would just like to say thank you again and wish you a very happy and fulfilling retirement. And we have a gift. Here, we can give it to you now or after the meeting, whatever you like.
After the meeting. Thank you, Andy. This is a team effort. The village board has a commitment to professional management, and they've entrusted me to do certain things, like make hires and the budget process. So we work together, but it really, all the credit does go to the village board and their compassion and their vision and knowing the separation of politics and administration that we were taught in grad school. Actually, it was Woodrow Wilson who coined that phrase. But we work together with the board for the service of our residents. So the board obviously works for the residents, we work for the board, and it is a team effort. So I at the same time as you're thanking me, I thank the village board for their kindness, their compassion, and their letting us lead our area. So thank you very much.
So Andy gave a few facts about John, but I have some facts that I think you really enjoy. I didn't know this, but when John went to the University of Illinois Chicago campus, he majored in philosophy. Who would have thought? John, I wish I had known that before, because I almost majored in philosophy at Loyola. And then I thought to myself, what am I going to do with it when I graduate?
Well, it served me well when I was on the ship in the middle of the Mediterranean at 4 a.m, asking myself, what am I doing here?
Right. And did Plato answer you? No. But you made good use of that degree by going on to get your master's at Northern Illinois University in public administration. Another little known fact about John is that he is a coffee nut, coffee snob, maybe we should say. He not only grinds his own coffee, which many of us do, he roasts his own beans. I've never heard of that, but so you must really be. But from coffee to beer, he also brews his own beer. That you should have brought in for a test. But above all, I think what John loves is spending time at his vacation home in northern Wisconsin at Eagle River. And if you haven't been to Eagle River, you should. It's absolutely gorgeous. We used to go there when I was younger. And he spends it with his wife, Catherine. He spends his time up there with the love of his life, Catherine, who coincides.
Barbara.
Where did I get Catherine? Who's Catherine?
My wife's best friend.
Yeah.
These are things we didn't
I
know.
think I found it on. I think I found it on Facebook. But I know I got your kids' names right, Sarah and Joey.
Yeah.
Okay. So John, we bid you farewell. We want you to know how much we appreciate all the time, the dedication, the passion that you put into helping make Indian Head Park a better place for all of us to live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there is, you want to give them the little thing?
Sure.
Okay. So this seems to be the gift du jour that I've been giving away, but this is from the whole board. The Man in the Arena, which was originally called Citizen of the Republic, of Democracy. And it was a speech that Roosevelt gave in Paris in 1910 that became his most famous speech. And I think that the original title, this one is Man in the Arena, but the original one, Citizen of Democracy, really should be the title, because it talks about public service and people who give their time and their effort and their blood and their sweat and their tears. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least you're in there trying. And you've always done us good, so thank you. I've got one more gift. From one philosophy major to another, The Phenomena of Man by Pierre Desjardins.
I know the author, but I've not read the book, so thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
And being from Indian Head Park, of course, we have an
Thank you.
Indian Head penny for you,
Excellent.
and we'll give that to you as well.
Thank you. That was very nice, Eileen. Thank you for doing that, and Charlie, thank you. Police Department. I think
John, thank you to start with. Appreciate it. We're partnering with Cook County for a treatment and response team. And what that means is that if we have a mental health issue where we have somebody in distress, instead of the officers trying to deal with the situation, we'll be able to do a Zoom session with a therapist, counselor, a psychologist that Cook County is providing to us for free of charge. They're currently involved with, I believe, 21 towns, and they're adding another 10, of which we're that additional 10. I have a brief video here. This was what the Cook County agents put on today for us.
information 24/7 to assist law enforcement officers who encounter individuals in crisis. The Sheriff's Office clinicians are available via Zoom and are trained in and experienced with crisis intervention and stabilization, mental health, and substance use screening. They also help with domestic violence calls, safety planning, and case management. CVAP may be used anytime an officer encounters an individual in emotional distress and who could benefit from speaking with a mental health professional at the scene. It may be deployed on a range of service calls, from mental health concerns to domestic disturbances to missing persons, and when it is deemed safe and beneficial to use it. Here is how to use CVAP. The officer deems it safe to initiate a Zoom call. The officer offers the opportunity to speak virtually with a clinician to the individual in crisis and/or their family members. If they agree, the officer calls 309-463-4357 through their department-issued phone or requests CVAP through CCSPD Communications. The officer provides a brief overview of the scene and any pertinent information about the individual to the on-call clinician. The officer then requests a Zoom meeting ID code. After receiving the ID from the clinician, the officer types in the ID and, if prompted, selects Wi-Fi or cellular data on their device. The officer confirms the device is not on mute. The clinician and the individual talk and develop a safety plan. If necessary, the clinician follows up with the officer. All CVAP cases are assigned a primary clinician who follows up with the individual or their loved ones. Some things to keep in mind when using this tool. Make sure the device used for this program is charged and that all software updates have been completed. Provide an incident report number to the clinician, either before or after the Zoom call. Notify the clinician if the officer needs to leave the scene, so a new session can be initiated on the individual's device. If the individual declines to speak to the clinician via Zoom, or if Zoom is unavailable, the officer can initiate a phone call or provide a TRT card to the individual. Additionally, the officer can provide a TRT business card to individuals who do not need a Zoom session, but who may benefit from behavioral health support services. Police departments may forward incident reports and case referrals to ccso.cvapreports@ccsheriff.org for follow-up.
A very simple system for us to use as officers on the street. I've been doing the job for a while, and a professional psychologist or clinician is going to be able to do the job much better than an officer can do. So it's a free service to us offered through Cook County. I feel it'll be a good program for us to continue in, or start in, I should say, not continue, but I think it'll be around for a while. Another topic we have is our squad car cameras, our camera system. Again, we're waiting for Cook County permitting and for the state of Illinois, IDOT, for installing our cameras. Along with that, squad car we purchased with last year's budget money, and we also just purchased a new squad car with this year's budget money. The newest car won't be put into service immediately, but squad cars are very limited, and it's hard to find squad cars. It takes a long time to get them ordered if you're going to get one shipped to you from the company. Our park cameras and the emergency phone in the parks is in the works. I've gotten estimates from Comcast for providing the service into the parks and the installation, and I'm waiting for the camera company who currently does our building cameras to provide an estimate for their cameras. Last but not least, I'm going to bring in Rob Verber to speak about National Night Out and our activity with that. Rob? Rob Verber comes to us from the Westchester Police Department, where he's conducted numerous national nights out, and this is going to be our first go at having this, and fortunately we have Rob for his experience. Rob?
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, board members. Just very briefly, Mayor had asked if I would just briefly explain the difference between, some of the vernacular between an ESO, which is an elderly service officer, versus a school resource officer. From what I understand, we're going to be moving, at least I believe we're going to be moving forward with some programming within the village, or the police department, which is going to benefit the village, and I'm really excited actually about doing that, because it was a lot of what I was doing in Westchester. So this is really a 2.0 for me, and you guys are getting the polished, finished product of that, thankfully. Now, an elderly service officer addresses the needs of our senior community, our older adults. And you have to attend a week-long intensive training that is hosted and sponsored by the Illinois Attorney General's office. Following that, there's only 1 day, 8-hour advanced elderly service officer training course that officers must go through, and that, once again, is hosted and sponsored by the Illinois Attorney General's office. Now, a school resource officer, an SRO, is a sworn law enforcement officer that's placed into a school. They're typically selected. Usually a pretty good process that they go through, a vetting process. A school resource officer, which I did for 10 years in Westchester, provides security and crime prevention services within schools within that community. We operate off the triad concept, meaning that we are an informal counselor, teacher, and law enforcement officer. So just by virtue of having an SRO in a school, schools are automatically getting that security component, but they're also getting the mentoring, the guest teacher, speaker portion, and which is really important is the mentoring portion of that. In addition, we coordinate investigations in SRO, coordinates investigations between the police department and whichever school district that officer happens to be associated with. That could be for sexting, sextortion, child pornography, cyberbullying, revenge porn, anything like that. The officer acts as a liaison and will typically actually take those reports or at least initiate those and then potentially hand them off to the agency that's actually holds jurisdiction within that area. The SRO also does checks for residency and truancy. Now, I know for example, with Westchester, there is a cost associated with sending a child to a school. If you have children that are attending a school district from outside the school district, that impacts the school. It impacts the infrastructure. You're getting more wear and tear on the floors, the toilets, the sinks, water, textbooks, the technology that's in the school, in addition to organizing and performing our safety drills. Each school within the state of Illinois, we'd like to see more of these, is required, is state mandated to perform only one law enforcement drill or lockdown drill. However, by state statute, they're required to perform 3 fire drills. Now, the last time that we had a fire of any notable significance was the Our Lady of Angels fire back in the 50s. I can't remember the exact year. That was the last time that we ever had a fire in which there was a loss of life. However, we only do 1 law enforcement drill that's state mandated in the state of Illinois. And all of us are fully aware of what's currently going on within the climate, not only within the U.S., but around the world globally in regards to incidents involving schools and school shootings. And we also conduct, an SRO also conducts youth-related presentations, do cyber safety presentations, cyberbullying. October's National Bullying Prevention Month. I would push into each classroom during the course of October with the school social worker. We work hand in hand. What a school resource officer is not is a disciplinarian. That is all handled by the school. We do not subjugate the children to any type of discipline or school codes or anything like that. We work hand in hand with the school district. So an elderly service officer working with seniors and a school resource officer working with children. Difference between an ESO and an SRO. Sliding into the National Night Out, which I'm extremely excited about. These are very taxing. This is a very hard event to put together, I will admit. I started this in January. Already started doing my asks, putting together my letters. But just to give a rundown, so the board is on, and I'll do the ask at the end. It has a dollar figure in front of it. Spoiler alert, it's extremely small. I pride myself on doing National Night Out on a shoestring budget. I try to get everything donated. So with that said, air methods, you've probably seen helicopters either going LaGrange or Loyola Hospital, any major medical center. Air methods is actually the contractual air ambulance that they use. They're actually going to bring the helicopter, land it in Black Hawk Park. So let me do some housekeeping. August 1st, 5 p.m. till dusk. As soon as dusk arrives, we're going to do our movie in the park. So we're figuring from 5 p.m. to 11 figuratively. The movie could end longer, or run short. It's always the first Tuesday in August. It is a nationwide event that happens on the exact same day every year for this is the 40th anniversary for National Night Out. And I've been involved with 12 of those. Hopefully this will be my 13th. As I said, air methods will come in with the helicopter. We're going to be utilizing Black Hawk Park. I already okayed that with the village board. I met with Acacia through emails, and they said no problem using the parking lot, using the clubhouse. We have the Kathleen with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District is going to be coming out. They're going to set up a table. Have any of their tchotchkes, going to be promoting their, any swag that they have, promoting the organization. They do the rain barrel program, and they also have the tree sapling program. I'd have to dig a little deeper here in Indian Head Park to find out what trees are or not permitted. For example, in Westchester, you cannot plant any trees on the parkway. They have to be on the other side of the sidewalk or in the backyard. And I believe they're oaks, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. The Salt Creek Model E Ford Club, they're going to be out here. They're going to display all their really super cool someone help me out here, the Model E Ford, 1920s, 1930s, 40s perhaps? Someone's a little more on the know than I on that. I've had them before come out. The Cook County Emergency Services team, their hostage barricade team, they'll be out. Cook County Sheriff's Police, Eric Rodell with their canine, they'll be doing a canine demonstration. The Pleasant View Fire Protection District, they'll be out with a couple engines. We're doing a touch-a-truck. Now, this is something that I've never done before, the touch-a-truck. I try to add something different every year. So I have Sunbelt Rental. I'm still waiting to hear back from the union folks on Joliet Road. I know this is going to sound bad because I know this is televised. The union, it's on...
Yeah, we have some village
did-
residents that can help us with touch-a-truck.
Already did the ask.
Yep.
With them. The fire department, Public Works, Sunbelt Rental, they're going to have a couple really cool vehicles out there as well. In addition to Chariot Automotive or Chariot Towing, I've already been in touch with them. Walgreens is going to be providing water, juice boxes, as well as Tony's Fresh Market. The Jumpy House and the 80-foot obstacle challenge, we have to have something for the kids. Because I've learned from past experience, if you don't have stuff for the kids, these events fizzle really quick. They'll do a victory lap through it and they're out of there. So the idea is to set up businesses, I use that in air quotes, have the table set up with their table throws, promoting whatever organization it is, the Illinois Attorney General's Office, Secretary of State. I still have at least another 2, 3, 4 dozen asks that I still have to put out in the next 60 days, give or take. J for Jumping, we're looking at just a little over $700 for the tables and chairs. So I've got that covered, in addition to the obstacle challenge in the bouncy house. And Kathy, who's the owner of J for Jumping, which is based out of Westchester, she's giving us a fantastic rate on that. And I'm only mentioning these because the other shoe's going to drop here. I'm going to have Dave out with the Traveling World of Reptiles. Once again, something that I've never done. For an hour-and-a-half show from 5 to 6:15 for $425. He brings out a land tortoise, snakes and spiders and all the little goofy things that the kids will just ooh and ah and really like to see. He's out here for an hour and a half doing that, showing these things off to the kids, and also doing public education at the same time with the reptiles. And then, of course, you have to have music. If you don't have music, people aren't going to want to stay. And the nice thing about if you bring music in, they usually have a following, which means you're bringing more people to the event, a bigger draw. So vintage, it's a duet combo, pretty much acoustic with a sound amplified acoustic guitar. That's $400. So it's $1,600. So my ask would be anywhere between 2 to 3. Like I said, we have at least 60 days before then, before we could put that budget in. I have actually, I have written contracts from all these folks. If somebody wants to come up with something different, I'm all game. But I think what I've laid out so far as the foundation is going to be really great. A lot of people are going to really respond to it and accept it really well. The only thing that we can't control is the weather. There's no plan B for this. There's no, well, let's move it on inside. It's a hit or miss. If Tuesday, August 1st comes along and we've got rain, we're going to have a big issue. So the takeaways. Helicopter landing at Black Hawk Park. Touch a truck with all the vehicles lined up. The Salt Creek Model A Ford Club are going to have all their vehicles lined up. I'm trying to talk to Jimmy John's, Firehouse Subs, so they can do the giveaways. Typically, we don't sell events at National Night Out because it's supposed to be a community police involvement type thing with our business community, our local government, so on and so forth. So we're not looking to have, the bead maker and, Tommy's submarine sandwiches. He's selling little mini pizzas or mini subs. I try to get everything donated, and a lot of these organizations are really great about doing that. They're very, very philanthropic. What I am looking for, since this is it'll be 2 years here in September, I know there's folks here in town that are somewhat philanthropic, or they may have a company I'm looking more for the angle of crime prevention, security, things along those lines. Somebody around here works for ADT or any of the other the big companies. They can set up a table, put their table throw out, put out their brochures, business cards. It's shameful advertisement, but we're trying to develop that bond. You like that? We're trying to develop that bond between the community and our residents, and as well as our village government, specifically the police department. So on that end, I was told to keep this short, which I have no problem doing. That's pretty much my report on that. I don't know if there was going to be a Q&A or just be presenting information.
Can you clarify again what was your budget?
I like to stay on the high side, $3,000, and if we
$3,000?
don't use it, it can be reabsorbed back into the budget. Because right now, what I just read off, just the 3 things: tables, chairs, Jumpy House, obstacle challenge, the reptile guy, and vintage, which is our music, $1,600. There may
So-
be some other incidentals.
Yeah, and we have
glow sticks.
some vendors of the village that have, the meetings we've had recently, that have told us that they can provide some support to our events, so.
Be perfect. That's what
Yes.
I'm looking for. I want to
Yes.
really, this truly is a community event. We don't want to make it just the police department, and we're doing it. I mean, it tends to be that way. I am going to solicit help within the department to get a couple guys, some of our newer guys. They were on board with this months ago when I mentioned it. And thanks to John for mentioning this several years ago. We talked, 2 years for me in August, or September, I should say, for me. I just want to give some kudos out there, for lack of better words, for John initiating that, and Amy for continuing that. I've been, everything that I've done so far has been well received, and I look forward to working with our current board as well as my administrators and continuing on with these different programs within the village, because I'm extremely excited about it. I still have quite a bit of fire left in me. There's a bunch of coal to throw in there yet. At some point, I'm going to hit my burnout period, because going on 33 years, carrying a gun, at some point I gotta hang it up. I gotta hang that gun belt up, but I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Maybe we can squeeze one more national night, possibly two more national nights out of me before I finally decide to head off into the sunset.
So one note on that, and the reason why I wanted you to explain the ESO and SRO is because we now have a Senior and Family Connections Committee that Eileen and Christina are going to be forming. And we really saw that there was a need for this in the village when we were campaigning. And there's a needs on both sides. So we want to work with you very closely to be on that committee if you can be there.
Likewise. I eat, sleep,
So-
anything with kids, crime, and seniors. I've been chanting this mantra for the last 15 years. That's my forte. I wish, unfortunately, when I was at Westchester, I didn't find this earlier on in my career. I really found where I really fit in with law enforcement, and I teach the young guys, or I try to impress upon them, find something that you enjoy doing and focus on that. Make that part of your career. I enjoy public speaking, as you can tell. I enjoy doing the programming and what. This is hard work. I don't want to, at the risk of sounding as if I'm trying to, pat myself on the back.
Well, and the other thing with the committee is they might be able to get some volunteers to help you
It's always nice.
for that
It's always
specific
nice.
day. So why don't,
Yeah,
if
let's
they'll
work on
invite you
that.
to the first committee meeting. You guys have not scheduled that yet, I don't
No,
think,
but we
have you?
will now, considering this.
But now
and-
that we know we have this going, we'll get the committee going, and
Thank you.
then that'll help you staff and get everybody involved. Because what we found is that there's a variety of people in this village that want to be involved and don't have an outlet to be involved, and want to be social and do things. So we want to talk about that in the committee and see what everybody on the committee wants to do as they form the committee and talk and ideate about that. So hopefully you can help them do that.
Yes, and I'm in the exchange of information. It's always that's always beneficial, and I'm looking forward and I'm excited. Thank you for giving me the time, Chief. Thanks for giving me the time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the time as well.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question and a comment for the chief. You need to come up a little bit, I think. I saw you retire, and I said, nah, you're not going to get away with it.
What?
Yeah, in regards to cameras,
Yes, sir.
okay? One of the things.
Which ones?
Pardon me?
The
street cameras.
LPR, license plate reading?
The license plate reading, and this is a comment to the Board of Trustees, is I had an opportunity to spend some time with the chief in regards to looking at the cameras and what they actually show, and one of the things that he did is he said, "What's your license number?" And so I gave him my license number, and so for the last week or 2 weeks, he said, "Well, this is how often you were on Wolf Road and what have you." So if you'd like to see this for yourself, Chief, how should they approach you to have a personal demonstration?
Call Charlie Eck at 555. You all have my number. You know where I work. Come on in. We'll run a demonstration for you. If you are concerned, we'll limit the search area to Indian Head Park, or we can expand throughout the country. We get requests every day come in from across the country. How somebody finds Indian Head Park from Miami-Dade to share our cameras with them, I have no idea. but we've shared Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, Seattle. And again, how these people find Indian Head Park and ask to share our cameras with them is amazing. I can understand Joliet, Rockford asking to share cameras. But again, it's a click of the mouse and we share our cameras with them. But again, anybody wants to come in, we can do a public demonstration or we can do a private one-on-one for you.
Thank you. Public Works, do you have a report tonight, or?
No report.
If there are no other reports from our department heads, then we are at the time in the meeting where we have another period of public comments. Does anybody want to address the board?
Amy Eckert from Cascade in Acacia. Just a thanks to the board and Public Works. There's been a lot of really positive comments about the new water fountain in Black Hawk Park. The dogs are loving it.
Thank you.
Karen Barthel. I just want to thank John for all the conferences, sometimes debates, but always professional. And I really appreciated that.
Well,
Thank
Karen,
you,
I
John.
appreciate it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? If there are no other comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I will
It's a voice vote.
adjourn the meeting at,
A voice
oh,
vote.
I need a voice vote, I'm sorry. All in favor to adjourn the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.